It's the old Doctor Who show, episode number 136. The Krotons. I wanted to say Croutons, you know? But then I was like, oh, come on. How hacky you're going to be. Of course you're going to say Croutons. I guess I did. The Krotons.
Go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine. You couldn't control my mind before, and you certainly can't control it now.
Would you like a jelly, Debbie?
The TARDIS, when working properly, is capable of many amazing things.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flows, and the TARDIS will be free of the force field now.
Well, the TARDIS is more than a machine, Stephen. It's like a person, you see.
The resulting reaction is Friday. Are you ready?
Welcome back to the old Doctor Who show, your classic Doctor Who review podcast, coming at you tri-weekly segments. Your old friend Eric's brain was going, which podcast are we doing? Are you supposed to say the old Doctor Who show, or are we supposed to present something? No, we're back. The original, the core, the pure, the most purest form, the good stuff, the bag of stuff that you put your knife in and you taste it in that warehouse, because this is uncut, pure TODWS. I'm here, as always, with the better half of this dynamic duo. It's Dan. Dan, how are you?
I'm sitting here in awe of that intro. I felt very Starsky and Hutch, like we're definitely
like
wearing
we're two
big
cops
sideburns,
solving crimes,
sniffing coke. I guess that's what we're doing.
That's the kind of cop I would want to be. Coke cop. Yeah. Now that's a little bit like Bad Lieutenant. Remember Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel? And then there was Bad Lieutenant Port of Call with Nicolas Cage, which is an amazing movie.
I have no idea what you're talking
about.
Oh
my God. Right now.
I don't know about the
stop.
Cage.
We have to stop what we're doing.
Folks, we're starting a new
redo
podcast
our
right
podcast. No, you have to see.
New podcasts are bored.
Yeah, you have to see Bad Lieutenant Port of Call. With Nicolas Cage, or I'm sorry, Port of Call, New Orleans, I think is the proper title.
What the hell?
It is
Why
absolutely.
Does it make me think immediately of like Speed 2 Cruise Control? No. Like it has the same sort of like
directed by Werner Herzog.
Okay, I'm in.
Starring Nicolas Cage.
Shoot him again.
What?
Fool. His soul's still dancing.
I don't think I'm spoiling. Just actually, you could probably look up clips from this. There's lizard people. It is amazing. It is a peak Cage too. I highly recommend it. I also, while I'm recommending peak Cage movies, Wicker Man. Who doesn't love that remake?
I was just gonna say it's Wicker Man season. We got Wicker Man and Port of Call, New Orleans, back to back.
We're in October now, so it's the spooky season. I don't know if you've also rewatched the original Hellraisers, like I did. I just watched both of them.
I am not.
1 and 2.
I can't really watch horror. I don't really like horror movies all that much. The only ones that I've ever seen that I really like would be all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Sure. All of them. Literally all of them. Even the bad ones. Still loved them as a kid. Hellraiser. Clive Barker. The body horror stuff. All of that I can't get into.
Yeah.
I've read a few of his books, and it's easier to read them on the page than it is to watch that. They're just it's
super imaginative. I have a weird thing with them. I like them, but I also don't like them. Like mixing up all of the sex and the viscera of all of that stuff together is not my favorite, and I don't like torture porn. And that's the first movie I remember with like just people being splayed open and all sorts of terrible things. But I'm also
That's
drawn.
How Eric got his start.
Yeah, I'm also drawn to those films, especially the first one. The second one, not as much, and then I never seen beyond it. I know they're redoing it. They redid it. That's why I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch.
I just read a thing about it. I read the review of it that was very spoilery because I was like, I'm never gonna see it just to see like what it was about. I mean, it sounded okay.
Okay.
If you're into that sort of thing, is it also Phantasm rewatching season? That's what I know.
You know what? I have not watched Phantasm in a couple of years, and I think it may be Phantasm rewatching season. I just watched Halloween for like the 5,000th time with my son. That was exciting. The original 1978's Halloween. And then I watched The Fog last night. I've been on a bit of a John Carpenter kick, which I'd never seen. I'd never seen The Fog. Not my favorite of his movies, but interesting.
Them? Is that John Carpenter's Them?
They Live.
No.
They Live. Them is the old...
sunglasses?
Them's the movie with the giant ants, right?
Giant ants.
Yeah.
Right. They Live. That's what I'm thinking of. With Roddy Piper.
Yes. Excellent movie.
Okay.
Love that movie.
Yeah, that was cool. So your kids are all excited about... I mean, the whole Grissom family is pretty big into Halloween.
Not all of us.
Oh, who is not?
My middle daughter, not a fan of any kind of horror. Refuses to watch any of it. Couldn't get her to watch Halloween. I'm a Halloween 3 apologist. I saw Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, before I saw any of the Michael Myers stuff. So I've been trying to get everyone in my house to watch that movie, and no one's taking me up on it. I'm like, come on, Silver Shamrock time, right? And I play the jingle, and no, she's not. My eldest is, and my son is, but he scares himself, so he'll get like so into it, and then he's just shut down. So it's a lot of someone's in the bed tonight again. Yeah. But hey, we're not here to talk about my family's Halloween obsessions. We're here to talk about you, Dan. What have you been doing this last week?
No. There's none of this. We're here to talk about Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, it's been a while. Oh, now Cooper is my son is now giving me the stink eye. What is it? I was talking about you on the old podcast. Subscribe.
Tell Cooper,
don't forget to like and subscribe.
Don't worry. Most of the people that heard about this, Cooper, are in England, so it's cool.
You're totally fine. Yeah. So let's I guess we could get to Doctor Who. Do you have anything? Did we miss anything? Did we miss any major developments? Some talk. I tweeted that we should probably do Power of the Doctor, which I think they just announced a date for, right?
Oh, I didn't see a date, but I did see
I think they just finally announced something yesterday.
This is the part of the podcast where we do our research in front of
couple of typings, October 23rd. The 13th Doctor will say goodbye in her last special on October 23rd. Now, I'm assuming that's US and UK, and it's not where we have to wait. I think they've been doing it together,
they've been
right?
doing the back-to-back. Yep.
So we'll figure out a way to watch that, and I think we should probably cover it because, without spoiling it, it was all over, Twitter. There's people from the classic series will be making an appearance, and that's what I'm
Eric?
I'm not going to say. Let people look it up.
It's all over Twitter, and you retweeted it. I think we retweeted it from our Twitter account. It's not like we're spoiling it.
Yes.
So we got
Tegan and Ace. And Ace has got the jacket.
Fantastic.
And it looks great. She's got the bat. So I think that's a good thing for us to cover, even though we've not done New Who.
As much as the show did to malign Tegan the whole way through, they just treated her like trash the entire way through. I am still a Tegan fan. Yeah, I loved her. I like Ace even more so. I mean, I am on the record of saying like I actually enjoyed the Seventh Doctor with Ace. I loved all of that. I mean, I like the Eighth Doctor too. That was fine. It was one movie. No, but the Seventh Doctor and Ace, loved all of that. So I'm excited to see these two return. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm down with it too.
For those reunions. I mean, when you saw Sarah Jane come back in New Who, like all those reunion things, I'm totally in. If it's fan service, I'm a fan. Here to be serviced.
I'm definitely a fan, and I'm trying to remember Tegan's when she left. Was she married off to someone on a planet? I mean, that could literally apply to 100 companions.
Did they kick her off a cliff?
No, for
Just,
real
the
though.
doctor's
Was she
like,
the one that
no, I
that
don't.
married like that king that looked like the guy from Flash Gordon with a beard?
Oh, did she?
I can't remember.
off
Or did
so
they just
many
take her back too? Because her whole basic storyline was just trying to get back to work, right? Where she's like he's trying to take her home but never does. I can't remember
I want to
where
say
she
they
left
actually dropped her
off.
back in her own time. I think that's what happened.
Yeah. Not that we haven't
But
reviewed it,
we'll do
which
our
we
research
had.
before it. We'll never do our research.
Yeah. So speaking of Doctor Who, let us
Are we?
let
Why
us
are we?
talk about Doctor Who more detailed. Let us
Eric.
specify a doctor in particular, the second Doctor.
Our last time with this doctor.
Is this our last time with the Doctor?
Our last time with this doctor.
Okay, that sounds good.
No more second doctor.
Yeah, I
that
like
sounds
that.
good. Okay, great. Oh, everything's looking
Hey
up
now. So we're definitely done with Troughton. Okay, maybe we'll say a
let's
few
jump.
parting words for Troughton as well when we get to the end of it.
Yeah. I think we already did say a few parting words with Troughton when we
We keep
had our
thinking.
original
Yeah, we
schedule.
keep thinking we're done with this.
They keep pulling us back in. So this I think is actually it. If it's not, we'll just say goodbye again.
Yes.
All right, Eric. While we're at it, let's just hit that button.
Let's
just
hit it.
get into it.
Whoop.
There are men on the stairs.
I might be able to dodge by them. Anything's worth trying.
Yes, there is just a chance. But be ready. Axos, a minute.
What is it?
In the past, you have always accepted my judgment. Believe me, the Krotons are not to be trusted.
I don't trust them. But Elec's right. We're doing the only thing we can.
But if we surrender the Doctor and Zoe, we ourselves will be killed.
What do you mean?
I'm sure of it. The Krotons don't care for us. They never have. But while we have the Doctor and Zoe, we have a means of negotiation.
If we don't hand over the strangers, they'll kill us anyway. You're getting old, Celeris. Your arguments make no sense. Stop! Stop that girl!
This is the Krotons. This is the fourth serial, Dan, of the sixth season, lucky number 6, from 1969. If you can believe, way back in 1969, this adventure was taking place. Where were you? A race...
We're waiting for you to answer.
A race of gourds take their best and brightest and forces them into a quote-unquote companionship with the Krotons, a mystery race that lives inside a machine and tells them what to do. Meanwhile, the Doctor, Jamie, and Zoe land on a planet that stinks of bad eggs. Ooh. And they witness the death of one of these donated companions. What results is something of a civil war, as it's gourd versus gourd on what to do about the Kroton problem. And the Krotons are essentially converting brains into energy to power their spaceships. Dan, what did you think of the Dahmer show on Netflix? Every time you watch the Dahmer show, like, it's a nightmare. My wife's very into it. Makes me very uncomfortable, but I recognize that it's well made. Jennifer Lynch actually directed several episodes. But the voice of, I keep hearing, like, either Napoleon Dynamite or like the McKenzie brothers, like, I'm going to eat your brain, eh? Take off, Ozer. It's that...
Oh, I like that better. Yeah.
Okay,
nice.
Go on, Dan. Tell me what you really thought of the Krotons.
We have actually watched a few episodes of that, and I also find it very unsettling.
It's very unsettling.
Which is weird, because it's just about, a guy who...
The problem I have, like, I watch a ton of horror stuff. When it's like real and it's like coupled, like, you're like, this really happened, and it's coupled with all this injustice where you're like, oh yeah, no one's doing anything, like, people are getting away and then getting brought back, and then people are going to the police and nothing's happening, and then it's like these levels of just sadness sandwiched into like horrific tragedy. And Dan, we're supposed to be talking about the Krotons. That's because I got into my notes where I was like,
Murphy show, so it's got its own thing to it. So it's whatever. Yeah, okay.
It's fine. I had in my notes that I was supposed to talk about that before we hit the button, and I forgot about it, and now I wanted to talk about that. Whatever. I ate your brain, eh?
I ate your brain,
Okay.
The Krotons.
Yeah.
So first of all, let me just it's one thing. I think you were calling them gourds, but they're gons.
Gons.
G-O-N-D.
Yeah. See, this is what happens when the autocorrect takes over my notes. Yeah, they're not gourds.
Gourds. Well, it's for us in America. It is gourd season, so I understand why that's on your brain right now. It's it's gourd spice latte season. Let's see. What do we have here?
What do you got
We
going on
have
here?
the second Doctor. We got Zoe. We got Jamie. Already, I'm happy. I like Zoe and Jamie as companions to this Doctor. I think they make this Doctor better. I don't have a big problem with.
Wait, hold on. Pause. Hit that. I didn't say who wrote it.
Oh, no one
Right?
cares though.
Oh, really?
Oh, it was written by Robert Holmes, directed by David Maloney.
thank
of
you.
The
Now,
Bologna
by the way,
Maloney's,
Robert
and
Holmes.
produced by
Robert
Peter
Holmes. How many classic Doctor Who writers had a run like this, dude? This is his first episode.
None?
What do we got? Krotons, Space Pirates. I don't think we saw that. Spearhead from Space. Terror of the Autons. Carnival of Monsters. Time Warrior. Ark in Space. Pyramids of Mars. Who wrote Brain of Morbius, Dan?
I mean, if you're
Robert
if you're
Holmes,
looking
Hand
at-
of Fear,
I'm looking
Deadly
at a
Assassin,
list.
Talons of Wang Chang. This is a top 10. If
Leaving
you were making
aside
a
the
top
stories.
10, top 20 classic Doctor Who stories, this guy's behind it. Sunmakers, Ribos Operation, not
Eric,
Robos. Power of
Leaving
Kroll,
aside just
Caves
the
of
episodes,
Adrazani,
the
Dan.
contributions, the characters he created. He
Characters,
created the Master, everything with the Time Lords,
Two Doctors.
the Santaran,
Yes.
Rassilon, all the Gallifrey. I mean, all this stuff. It was all in his brain pan.
Yeah,
what
what a ride.
What a ride.
What a ride.
We
But
have
yeah,
him
this
to
is his
blame.
first story. I'm sorry. I meant to point that out when I was reading the intro.
But you didn't, so now we get it for free in the middle.
Yep.
So
This is this
story-
is not unlike a classic time travel tale where we're talking about stuff we were supposed to talk about in the beginning, in the middle, and everything's mixed up. So tell me what you
Eric's
thought
gonna
of
release
Sandman.
An alternate version. Look in your feed for an alternate version of this episode where Eric puts it all in order, like fans did. With,
I am not doing that. This
Blink,
is that's
where they
fan
kinda, like-
edits will do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
fans have to cut this
Yeah.
in order. Dan, tell me what you
Eric,
thought of
you're-
the episode.
You're the biggest fan.
A Doll's
I'm not gonna
House.
tell you.
What did you think of A Doll's House? Put it in here, and then we'll do the Doctor
did you
Who
think of
one.
Dahmer?
Yeah. Okay, go, Dan.
Okay. This is a big wind up.
This is a lot.
For my impression. So here we go. It was fine. It was fine. It was quick.
It was well, yeah. Four-parter.
If you fast forward through some of the really long shots that we can talk about it felt like there was some padding in here. Like they took some shots and just really stretched them out for no good reason. But anyway, it was a fine story. Like I said, I really like Zoe. Jamie was okay in this. Fine. We have these mysterious creatures that live that no one's seen for thousands of years that are inside
In the machine.
There was a huge war in the past with these wastelands. You have a race of humanoids who are subservient to this race of creatures that they haven't seen in generations. They're entirely controlled by them, told what to think and what to study and what to learn. And they have a test that rewards people with death, but they don't know that. They just know that they never see him again. I don't know, man. It was a fine. There wasn't a whole lot to it. They had some charming moments, but overall, it was fine. Eric, what did you think of this so-so adventure?
Well, you know what, Dan? I sort of agree with you. Well, allegorically, I thought the story is very interesting. It's like, catnip for anti-government types. Because you have a government regime that's controlling the education system, and it's keeping people in line, and it's you know what it reminded me of, Dan? When I was a child, I caught a fever in my hand. No, when I was a child, they rebooted The Twilight Zone. Do you remember 1985? Yeah. Which was funny because I looked that up, and the Grateful Dead did the theme song. Did not realize that, but anyway, they rebooted The Twilight Zone, and there was one particular episode of that show that I remember made a big impression on me, and that was this story called Graduation Day. Now, in Graduation Day, it's like a dystopian future, and every kid is tasked with taking this test. And so the build-up of the episode is the parents are kind of freaking out. He's got to take the test, or like it's a very important test. He's like, and it's the kid from that arm wrestling movie with Sylvester Stallone, Over the Top.
Over the Top?
Yep. Yeah, so if you're going through his IMDb, just look for 1985 television Twilight Zone. So there's a lot of stuff like, oh, what is this test? And he's like, I'm going to do great on the test, Mommy. And the dad and the mom are looking at each other. So he takes the test, and then you cut to the house. The phone rings.
What are we doing?
We're telling this is important. The phone rings. They answer the phone.
Yes, hello?
This is the Government Educational Service calling. Your son, Richard Jordan Jr., has completed the government examination, and the results have been analyzed. We regret to inform you, your son's intelligence quotient has exceeded the government standard according to Rule 84, Section 5 of the new code. You may specify now whether you wish his body interred by the government, or would you prefer a private burial?
Because in this dystopian future, they take the best and the brightest, and they execute them. Now, this is based on a short story, the same name, from 1958, but like that idea of taking the Krotons, taking this population and taking their best and brightest and then removing them so they could keep them under their thumb is not how it went. But as soon as I saw that in the beginning, was like, oh, that's just like that story, Graduation, whatever I said it was, Examination Day. It's not, but it's an interesting idea, and I like that part, and I liked the stuff about all the terminals that teach them education are specifically teaching them one thing and then hiding another. So I thought all of that stuff was good, and as sort of an allegory to, thinking for yourself and not trusting people in power and all of that stuff was good. I liked all that stuff.
Okay.
It was a little boring, though. I mean, like, as a story, it got a little bit, like, I don't know. Like, Jamie gets stuck, goes in the machine, and there's a lot of cutting back to Jamie just hiding behind something.
Yeah.
And I thought the Kroton design was kind of uninspired. It just was, like, it felt like very much like every other robot you would have seen in a 1950s sci-fi thing. I didn't know. I didn't like it.
It's hard to contextualize the robot design in the time period for me, but I mean, given that this was 69, and you're right.
Yeah, if you think of like all of the 50s,
late 50s, early 60s kind of design, then,
right?
Yeah,
but it's late 60s at the time that this.
Yeah.
It's fine. Whatever. So the story part and and I think you see a lot of Robert Holmes railing against bureaucracies, later on, and so I think you see a little bit of that. It's okay. I mean, I don't know. There were a couple of things where we can review and you can explain to me, because I'm like, how does this work? Like, it takes your brains, and then it was like trying to convert them into energy, and these people weren't good enough. But if they're converting your brain,
it's that they were trying to get there's two
there's two Krotons that needed more Krotons to use their brain powers to pilot the ship or run the ship or whatever.
But first, they needed enough energy, so it feels like the ship was like on autopilot, and those Krotons weren't there. They needed enough mental energy to first reconstitute them. Is that what was happening? Because then at a certain point we see like the big fish tank with bubbling stuff, and then Krotons come out of it. Am I misunderstanding what happened? So it felt like they were sucking in enough brain juice to get the ship running, so that the Krotons then they needed even bigger brain juice so that they could have them help pilot the ship, because they needed 4 of them to do it, and 2 had
so with the original brain juice, like, I was under the impression they were sort of taking mental energy or intelligence or whatever and converting that from intelligence to energy.
Yes.
Which I would think would leave the person like a husk of a person, like without any brain power, because they've converted it. Yet the woman that comes out of it, Vanna, I think her name is.
Yes.
Recovers and is fine.
Right. Well, so typically, I guess they.
So why were they like vaporizing
all the
people? Just let people out and then just put it like a recycling program and just keep It seems like
Oh, yeah. You're so eco-conscious. That's a good idea. I don't know why.
I expected like them to come out
I will
and then
say some of their weapon, right? But I mean, no, just playing off the. I mean, it's really important to talk about climate change on this planet. At least some of their technology was powered by its sun's rays, so they're green in some sense. But that's the thing, Eric. You really want to be holistic. And you want to try to fix every part of the system and not just say like, oh, I did this one thing and I'm fine. So it's a really good lesson for everyone out there. So
hey, recycle.
Folks, you got to compost. You got to eat.
You got to recycle your things.
Anyway, yeah, fine.
It's fine.
Who knows?
The music
so up brain juice and the people would like for like I guess if they let him go long enough. Although we don't know, maybe Vanna lost a bunch of memory or. Maybe she's got holes in her head.
I thought maybe they were going to do that, or she was, because she's like unconscious for a good portion of one episode at least. But then by the end, she's helping everyone, and like she's totally part of the, I mentioned in the description, there's sort of a division that happens between the groups, and there's one guy who's kind of the quote unquote bad guy versus they're all kind of incompetent though in their own way. It's all fine. The music I thought was really weird. Like, the very beginning, there's like, it sounds like someone doing a human trumpet beatbox music when they're walking around when they land on the planet of eggs. Which, by the way, lost opportunity for like a smell-o-vision. You could have got a card in the mail and then smelled it and been along with Jamie with the rotten eggs.
Sulfur and ozone. What a good smell that would have been nice.
But did you notice the music? It was like... And I'm like, is the doctor making that sound, or is that on the soundtrack?
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. That did happen. I had that exact thought.
And apologies, I just like literally was just
you're
doing
totally
that
right.
sound into the mic, and people are probably crashing their car now because it's.
No, I absolutely thought that
what
the
was
doctor
that?
was but it was just the soundtrack. Yeah, it only caught me that one moment, and
they never do it again.
So I didn't know what was going on.
That music cue doesn't come back. It was just a very strange thing. It's all fine. It was fine. I mean, you mentioned Zoe and the and Jamie and the doctor, and their stuff is great. Zoe and the doctor, their interchanges were very enjoyable, especially when he talks about her being a genius.
He's almost as clever as I am. Like, that part's great. In the first episode, when they land on the planet, and Jamie's like, "It smells like eggs," and Jamie's like, "Where are we?" And Jamie says, "You don't expect him to know, do you?" So already, like that
part was a little strange.
Was great. I like it.
I know not what you said was strange.
Eric,
the part
I like
where
it.
They land on the planet, and Jamie's like, "Ugh, it smells like rotten eggs" or whatever. Right before that, doesn't the doctor take a big fills his air sacs full of, and he's like, "This place is great." It's like, does he enjoy that smell? It was a weird character moment. I lost Dan, but the best part of the story is, can we talk about
my Krotons started cleaning the floor.
The Twilight Zone again?
Go ahead. Okay.
You don't remember that episode though, with that little kid, and it was great.
Everyone, if you could just find that, pause the podcast, go find that episode, and we're gonna do a live review of it. So, ready? 3, 2, 1, hit play.
And go.
We're not gonna do that.
No. But go on, Dan. You were in the middle of something, or I was in the middle of something.
I wasn't. We weren't doing anything. So there were some good moments.
The doctor doesn't like to say goodbyes. He just splits, which is 100% on brand. Sometimes he does that.
Happens all the time. We got a couple things that were interesting. I think that one that was new was the HADS system. So the Krotons find the TARDIS. Let's just jump around.
Jump around.
The Krotons find the TARDIS. They're going to dematerial or whatever. They're going to disintegrate it.
Yep.
As
you do.
Fire extinguisher fumes all over it, and it's gone. Oh my God, they got rid of the TARDIS, but no, the doctor had activated the hostile action displacement system, and it just moved to a different location.
That's a good thing.
First and only
to
time
have.
that's ever used. I loved it.
Yeah.
It would make things. It would have cleaned up so many plots of different stories if they had just done that, and we would have had fewer episodes. This could have been a 3-parter.
It could have been a 3. It could have been maybe a 2-parter, or have one part of just the Krotons choking. When they introduce when Zoe like dumps the acid into their vat, and they start choking
into the fish
that
tank.
Is a very funny scene, but not intentionally.
Yes. It's supposed to be, exciting and pivotal, but it was silly. I also didn't like their voice, the voice acting for the Krotons. Didn't do it for me. But
it sounded
the same
familiar.
Sort of,
yeah, it's like this. Was it the same actor or voice actors that may have done Daleks or someone else
with it? Yeah, I mean, obviously they had to do something different than Daleks. They just did it lower and with a weird inflection. I don't know.
Yep.
It was fine. I liked Zoe taking the test. She got left up there on her own in the learning hall and sat down with the thing and just started doing it, and the look on her face was really adorable, and she's like all excited about it. Like I love that as like Zoe as the proto hacker, jumping in there and whatever. That was
very cool. And the way that they sort of shamed Jamie, where they're like talking about how he got in there, and they're like, they can't use him, he's too stupid, but they don't say that.
He's just a dum-dum.
They say it in a nicer way. That he's sort
but
of
the Krotons don't. They call him a primitive,
yeah.
And I guess he's not a. What do they call him? High brains.
He gets a little fighting action too, like where they're like trying to give him a club. He's like, "Nah, I'm gonna do this with my hands." So you get some Jamie fighting.
Yeah,
you get what Pertwee would have done.
Yes, we got an action hero Jamie instead. I mean, like I said before, there were some sequences that just went on so long. There's this. When they send out one of the Krotons to go look for the TARDIS, and it's just going through a quarry, which, folks, every planet out there just looks like a quarry. It really gets annoying. But anyway, so you see this Kroton point of view going through a quarry, and they keep cutting back to it, and it's like 30 seconds at a stretch of just point of view. It just, there was no need for that. There were a couple of runaround scenes that were just like, oh, this is just taking way too long. So those things just felt really padded to me for.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I it's not my favorite. It was not my favorite episode. I mean,
right. The story is good. The execution, maybe in those moments, just tightening it up would have felt better.
Yeah, and it's also like hard to like, I don't know, the characters of like the people that are sort of the heroes, like the guy yelling, he doesn't say it's a patriarchy. He says something about like that his son needs to be in charge because of blood. Like, I don't agree with that anyway. Like, that's not, but they're the people that inherit the planet at the end.
Right.
And it was just kind of strange. And even that guy's like for the Krotons, and then I don't know, all of like the internal politics piece, which takes up a good amount of the storyline, didn't feel like it had any real weight, or I don't know. I didn't find that very interesting.
It felt very muddy. It felt very much like shifting alliances back and forth without sort of any intrigue to it. It was just hey, whatever they said they'll leave, if we can just give
that's
them
a better way.
The Doctor and Zoe, sure, it was fine. I don't know. Let's see. What else was the production design? What'd you think of that? I liked overall. You said you didn't really.
I didn't mind like the ship.
I was uninspired.
I didn't like the design of the Krotons, but I did their ship, like that organic looking. It almost looked like they should have been wasp-like, not robot-like. But I liked that was okay. And when it was like bubbling over, I just found them to be very derivative of so many other things. They had spinning like heads, right? Whatever. It was fine.
There really wasn't anything going on in like the architecture of the building. Like, there's one distant shot of the miniatures of the buildings, and that looked kind of interesting because it was different. But when you're in the interiors, it was all just like dark, and we were in caves, and it just felt very, again, muddled. There wasn't anything like a clear point of view of like what this was supposed to look like. It just felt very generic to me. The one thing that wasn't generic was the outfits. Zoe, first of all, getting to wear a shiny pleather, spiky sort of shiny outfit.
She had that was very cool.
She looked great. Then there's this. It was Vanna, I guess, who was wearing an outfit, and they had like
she had those like
it's black and white.
Yeah.
So she had like it was like I guess like a lighter gray bodysuit sort of thing with black trim, and trim went around the arms, and then it also went in a very Cher riding the gun on a Navy ship sort of crotch thing going on, which was not great. It made me real uncomfortable. It just went like up at the. I'll put it.
I know.
I'll definitely have a gif of it. It was not cool. I don't know why they did that for her. but not for the gentleman. The gentleman, they look okay. It was strange. I did not like that at all.
I forgot to mention, too, with the Krotons, that their heads do look like those ring pops. But go on. That's what I was thinking of with the top of the... They're delicious.
Yeah, it was like a watermelon strawberry combo flavor. We didn't mention the scientist who...
Oh, yeah, the chemist.
A little bit like a really... Yes, looked like a young... God, what's his name? Well, it reminded me of Walter White, honestly.
Beta. His name was Beta, right? Was that the guy we're talking about?
Was he Beta, or was...
I thought Beta was a science man, but maybe I put my notes wrong.
I don't remember.
Doesn't matter, but I know who you're talking about. The guy that makes... You're talking about the guy that makes the acid.
Yeah. So he's a scientist. They're not actually allowed to study chemistry. He's never worked with acids before. He and Jamie working together with the bandanas over their face. And
they're all getting sick. Yeah, they're all getting sick.
Their lungs are burnt. They are toast. But it was just a fun scene. It was like, I've never done this before. I've never made acid.
I like that part too.
And what could happen? We might blow up. No big deal. Like, it was just, that was a fun scene. I think he was.
I like that
one
scene.
Of the only characters that I thought was interesting because there was something going on.
The only they establish like the Krotons are bad. It seems like everyone kind of knows it. There's rumblings that they want to, but like that scientist just kept saying again, like, okay, do this chemistry, and they're like, but the Krotons don't want us to do chem. It's like, yeah, we know they don't want you to do chemistry. You're already aware that we're going against the Krotons, but he's still like pushing back. Like, well, am I supposed to be doing chemistry? It's like we're planning a coup. That's fine.
Yeah,
it's all good, Dan.
Of that kind of slavery and mind control. Yeah. So then they save the day by making the fish tank full of poisonous acid, and the Krotons disintegrate. Cool. That was it. It was just
it's fine.
A middling episode. Totally okay. Fine. Maybe not the best send off for us, for Troughton.
No, not the best send off for us.
Really,
I mean, if we were ending on something like Mind Robber or something a little bit more interesting.
Right.
Oh, we didn't talk about Elik. Not that I have literally anything to say about Elik. Elik is the bad member of, or quote unquote bad. He's, early on wants to fight the Krotons, right? But he's going to sell the doctor out, or the High Brains, the doctor and Zoe out in order to get the ship off. The story ends with him still very much in power, even though these other people are saying we'll deal with him later. It seems like most of the army is following Elik, so it's going to be a slaughter after the doctor leaves, right? I mean, Elik leaves with like his own crew, his own death squad, and then he's out of there. And then they're like, they do all the work and they destroy the ship, and they're like, hey, my son will be in charge. It's like, really? This thing's going to end in a bloody revolution, and I'm not sure that they're going to be on top. I think Elik is going to take control. That's my own personal, I'm not here to pick winners and losers, but I think the smart money's on Elik.
I think you put your finger on the scale there.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, fine. Like I said before, all the characters are pretty much interchangeable to me. Whatever. Yeah, I guess he was... maybe he's going to be they're going to change things on that planet now that the Krotons are gone, but I literally it didn't really do anything for me.
I said, like when Elik was like, you're no longer in control, arrest this man, and then what's his face, who's the man that I'm talking about, the guy that used to be the leader, he's like, wait, I can help you, he's like trying to like grovel his way back in, and then he's like, nah. And I was like, all right. But then they just kind of let him go. So it was weird. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, arrest this guy. And then he's like, no. And then they still don't arrest him.
Again, maybe
not a lot of follow through
from the bigger picture of like what it was trying to say, and had some good moments. But overall, it was maybe the execution that left a little bit to be.
Yes. And certainly nothing against Robert Holmes, who's probably my favorite.
As we've already said,
classic Doctor Who writers. Look what he's done. Who am I to tell this guy that Krotons wasn't that great? But it wasn't great.
No.
Right? Okay.
Not the best.
I'm done, Dan. I got nothing else about the Krotons.
Well, we got a few people on the Twitters telling us what they thought about this as well. Obviously, you can
I
always
have
reach
no
us
idea
at
if people like or
TODW
dislike this one. I would say I'm gonna guess before you read it. I've not read any of these things. I think people will agree with us, and this is not going to be a popular. That's my personal take.
Well, let's
I right?
find out. Let's see. Well, our friend Paul Paranoid says this is the first Troughton I ever saw, shown as part of the Many Faces of Doctor Who in 1981 series of repeats. Put out to remind everyone that there had been other actors in the role now that Baker was leaving, and the already revamped show was about to enter a new, streamlined, modern era. So I have real affection for it. I also remember that back then the TARDIS seemed strange and not necessarily completely benign. After all, it lands us in peril every week. So when it chooses to take off and land somewhere else all by itself in episode 1, it seemed uncanny somehow. So, I mean, I could see having some affection for it if it was like the first...
there's some nostalgia feeding into that.
Some nostalgia to it. But overall, okay. Alan Kingsley says, Second Doctor is usually a tough sell for me, but I like this one.
Oh,
Everyone
okay,
seems
I'm
to be
wrong.
having a lot of fun, although the Krotons themselves are weak villains. I can easily see kids at recess playing as Troughton, Jamie, and Zoe. It's also only 4 parts, which makes everything better. Yeah, I mean...
Sure, thank God this wasn't a 6-parter.
Oh,
we would have ended this show early, and you know what I'm talking about.
I do know murder-suicide. Yeah, so there's that. Misfit Scully says... hi guys, hope this reaches you in time. The Krotons was one of the first, if not the first, second Doctor Who stories I saw. Oh, so there you go. I remember it being repeated in November of '81. See, there you go. Friends across time here. This is maybe why I have such affection for the story. I love the design of the Krotons, the way they move and interact, and the heads spinning. A fan of the spinning heads, Eric. Maybe the sheet hiding the operators could have been better. I didn't even notice that, honestly. Overall, I love the design. Zoe's outfit for me is iconic to 60s Who. Yes,
yeah, I love
totally
that.
Agree.
That is.
Just love it. The sets, the effects, special sounds, and a great cast really make this story work for me. So we got that's all we got. Thank you for your replies there.
Thank you. So I was wrong. It seems like people do like it, and I am probably in the minority and not liking the design. So there we go.
You don't have that nostalgia. And
I like
to be
the
fair,
head,
in 1981, they weren't forcing themselves to watch the majority of Doctor Who and talk at length
and
about
they have to
so
record themselves.
Exactly. So they're coming at it from a slightly different angle than we are. Yeah. So yeah. Thank you, folks, for letting us know what you think about that. You can also reach us at theolddoctorwhoshow@gmail.com if you don't use the Twitters and would rather just message us directly. Eric, this is a short one.
Yep.
I don't think there's a whole lot to say about it.
I think we're done. I think we're done. I think
we
we're going to have to say
you, Patrick
to the people.
Troughton,
yes. Thank you, Patrick. I guess we got to talk about Patrick Troughton.
For your silliness.
Not my favorite doctor. I tried. Doctor. It's the... It's the whining. I talked about it at length. It always seems like he's, and I just it's become grating to me. So this story certainly has some of that. He's fine. If I had to do a list, he would be near the bottom. Unfortunately, that's I can't not be me, right?
Oh, don't.
There's so many good doctors, though. I mean, come on. Like, is he better than Tom Baker?
We all know you're a big Colin Baker fan, and he's going to be at the top of the list forever.
You know what? I would put Troughton on the TV version above Colin Baker. But I've said it before, the Colin Baker Big Finish stories are great. So do I count those? Just dealing with TV? Yeah, I would put Colin Baker at the bottom. Because those episodes are so poorly written. It's not really his fault. But as an actor, like on the Big Finish side of things, some of my favorite stories that would elevate him remarkably, right?
I guess.
I don't know. Or we're not ranking the doctors yet. We got to do that at the end.
Do we have to?
We don't have to. But what else are we going to talk about?
We're not going to. Fine. Okay. We'll do a huge best of, worst of.
I don't know. It's fine. Folks, what do you think of Troughton? You're more Troughton. You started
I liked him.
Very strong Troughton from what I remember.
Yeah, I liked Troughton maybe as a counterpoint to Hartnell. I think that's why I appreciated him at the beginning. But I definitely take your point about the possible whininess and a little bit of... He's got that thing that later Doctors do where they play dumb or they make their enemies underestimate them.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do it in a way that is as charming or as effective as some of the later Doctors do, in my opinion.
He also
where it can come off, like you said, as a little bit like, whatever. Anyway.
I don't remember the order of things because we're going all over the place. But I felt like a big part of Troughton was that recorder that he would play.
Sure.
But we haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah.
Was that only in one episode and we were assuming that was like his thing?
No, I mean, they do it in a few episodes, and I guess that...
He was more that, like, delightful scamp hobo type, right?
Yeah, kind of like the, vaudevillian sort of hobo
yeah,
performer.
maybe that was one episode.
That's how I always read him as well. We did get one mention of "Oh My Giddy Aunt," which I know is another Troughton-ism that people will always bring up. But yeah, otherwise, thank you, Troughton, for taking the show in a different direction. That's not an easy thing to do after the show has a replacing the main star and taking the show in a different direction, setting the template for how that can be done. So, huge respect for that at the very least.
Good job, Troughton.
Good job. I'm sure that makes everything better. Yeah. Okay, I think that's it.
That's
Eric,
done. We're done. So what do we have to tell you? We have to say, hey, get ready to watch some more Doctor Who, because we're not done. We're never getting out of here. The next thing that we have to do, friends, is Frontier in Space. So start watching that now. We're back in Pertwee. Last time we did this, I was thinking for some reason Krotons was a Pertwee story. It's clearly not. It's Troughton. But now I am 100% sure the next story we are doing is Pertwee. It is called Frontier in Space. I have no idea what it's about or how many episodes it is or anything other than it's Pertwee, which means there probably will be the Master in it at some point, right? It seems like every time we're doing a Pertwee story, it's like, oh, the Master again. I'm still cool with the Master. If it's, they always work well together, but I am hoping it's not because I feel like we keep watching the same
Only way to find out is to join us again in 3 weeks, folks. So we will talk to you then.
And then, hey, if you want to keep listening, we're going to do Sandman next week. And you can follow me on Twitter at eGrissom, on Instagram at eGrissom, on TikTok on ESGrissom. You can buy any number of my books, including Goblin, a middle grade graphic novel. Just go right to your favorite bookstore and say, I want this guy on the podcast. And then they'll take it from there.
They'll figure it out. Yeah. They get that all the time.
And Dan, how can people keep in touch with you?
Follow me at DanJNJ if you wanted to. I'm not as active on the Twitter as I used to be because it is a trash website.
What's trash?
But yeah, so just follow me there. And look for the GIFs. We'll have some GIFs on the show page and in our feed coming up soon. So thank you all. And we will talk to you all.
Have a great day, week, life, 3 weeks. Peace.
Where's my robot? You know?